In my previous video, I said I would tell you what my preferred electoral system is. It is not proportional, but I'd be happy with one of the following: instant runoff voting, the two-round system, and supplementary member. Now, I am against proportional representation because it benefits, pardon me, extremists. This clip will be called "Why People Vote for Extremists." This will be another piece of my lecture which I will do 1 month from now at my local university. Now, what are extremists? They are political parties and politicians who, through democracy, get elected and then undermine, compromise, or destroy democracy altogether. Or if, by bare minimum, just totally destroy all that is good in a country. If that makes sense. I am against proportional representation because, as I said, it benefits extremists. A disproportionate system prevents extremists from being in a powerful position in forming government. Let me say that again. Disproportionate electoral systems prevent extremists from being in a powerful position of forming government. The reason why a disproportionate system extremists do not benefit. Extremists love proportional representation because it benefits them. In a disproportionate system, it does not benefit them because people are afraid of wasted votes and, more importantly, underrepresentation. They vote tactically, or they don't turn up to vote at all. And even under a disproportionate system, even if the extremists win a few seats in a parliament, they are so small, 1 or 2 seats, or 3, that the mainstream larger parties can ignore them in a disproportionate system. They are not in a powerful position of forming government. The reason for this is, as I said, people are afraid of underrepresentation and no representation, as opposed to, even if they don't have exactly what they want, they want at least some minimal representation. That's what disproportionate system does. Anyway, I better stop repeating myself. So I must take a pause here. Proportional representation benefits the extremists because they can go from 0 seats to 50 seats in just 1 election. Because under a proportional system, people know that their vote counts, so they'll turn up in greater numbers. People know that their vote immediately makes a difference. Not an indirect difference, but a direct difference. They can sweep into office very easily the politician they vote for, the candidate they vote for, sorry. And the reason why, I apologize. So under proportional system, they know they can get their guy in parliament immediately and in a very strong position with several seats, as opposed to a disproportionate system where they may only win a few seats. In a disproportionate system, small or minor parties grow gradually and or shrink or stay small or merge into larger parties. In proportional systems, you can go from minor party to major party overnight. Now, that is why I am against proportional representation, because it benefits the extremists. Now, why do people vote for extremists? Because during times of economic hardship and other times of, other problems of a country, when a country is experiencing crises, that people will blame the government and the establishment for the current problems. And they turn elsewhere. They turn away from the parties they traditionally vote for, the larger mainstream parties. And the politician or the political party that expresses the most anger against the establishment wins the most votes. Wins the most votes because they express the most anger against the arrogant and out-of-touch politicians who don't listen, arrogant and out-of-touch establishment politicians who do not listen to the everyday problems of the people who voted them in. They express most anger and frustration, and this wins them over most vote. This wins them over the votes. Now, extremists use fear of ethnic and religious minorities and immigrants as their message. They blame them for the country's. They blame other people for the country's problems, as well as anger at the establishment politicians. I have to pause again. They use people's fears and they tap into a sense of strong nationalism, saying, I will make this country strong again by destroying our enemies, which can be ethnic and religious minorities, immigrants, and the establishment. And then we will be strong once we wipe out the problem. This is the message of extremists. Now, and it wins them over a lot of support. This formula, combining fear of other people and anger towards the establishment, this is a formula for them winning so many seats, combined with the fact that there is proportional representation, so they can be swept into office very, very quickly. And they would be in a dangerous position of forming the next government and implementing their democracy-destroying policies. The only way for mainstream political parties to counter the threat of extremists is to truly address and take action on the problems of everyday, hard-working people, and who are usually decent, but can be misled, decent, good people that can be misled by by fear and anger. Since the start of the new century, in recent years, many right-wing nationalist and populist parties across Europe have been making electoral gains in countries all over Europe. Some have gone as far as entering agreements with government formation. This is a very disturbing trend in Europe. Let's take my home country, my former home country and country of nationality, the Netherlands. That fascist Geert Wilders is now in a confidence and supply arrangement with the government. Some of his fascist policies will be implemented, undermining Dutch democracy. That is one reason why I am no longer Dutch. Now, there is one other unique case of extremism that must be pointed out, and that is Russia. In Russia, everybody is an extremist. Well, if you are not a supporter of Vladimir Putin, who threatens military action against neighboring countries, who silences opposition media and persecutes opposition politicians, if you are not a supporter of Vladimir Putin, then you must be a supporter of the Communist Party, who wants to return to the days of the Soviet Union and Joseph Stalin. If you're not a communist, you are a neo-fascist, supporter of that fascist Vladimir Zhirinovsky. In Russia, if you are a liberal Democrat, you probably have nobody to turn to. You will be shouted down by the extremists, which is probably 99% of all Russians. Russians, it seems, do not want democracy. The only thing that they're debating about amongst themselves is what kind of dictatorship they want. So, however, there are some smaller liberal parties in the liberal and democratic parties in Russia, like Yabloko, but they are only in single-digit support and they are largely ignored. Thank you for listening to this watching and listening to this YouTube video. Due to time constraints, I try to tighten up as much as possible what I say in these videos. Thanks for listening.